Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV, and my co-host Jeremy Scipio is in New York right now doing this thing, man. So we're gonna get back with Jeremy after the new year. But today's guest is Don Hefty, multi-talented cat. You know what I'm saying? He was passed over to me by one of the homeboys. I'll call him the mayor, I think, of Whittier. I think that's what he is. He's a but it's crazy because he's not like he's, if you know him, you know him. If you don't know him, you don't know him. But yeah, DJ Gargamel, man. And
yeah.
And you know the crazy thing about Gargamel is that he's as proficient in hip hop as he is dance music. And you just don't find anybody that's really that really has the duality like that. You know what I'm saying? Where they're just like he, and I mean, he just got back from Europe with Kenny Dope and a couple, you know, some OGs. So and then on the other side of the coin, you know what I'm saying? He's Aladdin's homeboy. So it's like,
no, yeah, he just got back from like Ireland or something like that, right? Like,
yeah, he was over in over in Europe for a sec.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's dope. You know what I mean? Like when your passion takes you, like lets you, not only allows you to travel, but you're making money doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always a bonus. You know what I mean? That's always like, I mean, sometimes it's like people like, oh, like what are you doing? And you're just like, but you're like, you know, you're doing what you love. It's pretty cool. Like, you know, I think for as far as the artist is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you might not be making like buku cash, but I mean, if you're able to keep the lights on and you're still able to, like, you know, travel the world, you know, and everything's paid for, you know what I'm saying? And you're still responsible. I mean, I think that's like, I mean, that's pretty much living the dream to me.
Yeah,
you know?
Hey man, it's living the dream until you wake up, man.
This is true. Wake up until you wake up, or you don't wake up.
You wake up and you're like, ooh wee. Oh man. Yeah, I spent a lot of time traveling, man. A lot of time traveling. Learned a lot, you know what I'm saying? More than just, you know, kicking it and just whatever. Crazy about travels. I'll say the place that I learned the most from was a spot called Christiana. And I want to say it was in I don't know if Denmark. It's in Denmark. I'm almost positive it's in Denmark, but it's straight up a community. And in the community, they like some hippies. It's a commune. So basically, think of somewhere about the size of a junior college, and some hippies from the United States went out there and kind of like, well, I think they had to get with some of their people, and they kind of just like stuck claim to it and was like, this is our spot. And so within this junior college, it was a community. Like, you know, they had like legal herb sales, you know, restaurants, and, you know, people would come to Christiana, and instead of, let's say, working for like a cash wage, they had like a barter system. So people could go there and wash dishes in order to get dinner and all kinds of stuff. And I'll say out of everywhere I've been, I found that to be like kind of most fascinating because it worked. You know what I'm saying? It worked. It was funny because I was talking to J-Ro from the Alcoholics, and he was like, we were talking, and he was explaining somewhere, and he was like, man, they just have a whole bunch of dogs. And I was like, I know exactly which, because they had like literally in Christiana, they had like a pack that was like all the neighborhood dogs, and there was probably like about 15 or 20 dogs. But anyway, so on to the interview, and enough of my travels. And yeah, bless up to Gargamel, man. He out there hitting the turf doing his thing. But how were you introduced to hip hop?
To hip hop? So like just the introduction to the actual like genre, it's probably like 1990, 1991 when I started listening to it. I really wasn't too much into the whole DJing at the time yet, but it really wasn't until, I don't know if you remember, probably like around 92, 93, like East Coast hip hop came in like really hard. And you had stuff like Lords of the Underground and Smith and Wesson, and you had like all these other, like groups coming in, and like that's what got me initially into hip hop, and then just like through friends and stuff, I had like friends that had DJ equipment, and then he would DJ like just like back then. This was before the '90s party scene even hit, so it was just more like we were doing like backyard boogies and stuff like that. And then I'd always be like, I didn't understand yet the concept of like why people had doubles, because there was no MP3s back then. So if you wanted an instrumental intro, you needed to have 2 records, one with the instrumental, so you could mix into, the single version of whatever track you were trying to get into. You know what I mean? But I mean that's initially what got me into it. And then as far as the DJ, like the whole party scene got me like fired up into actually doing and like mixing, you know what I mean? Like actually getting into like learning the craft and the, all that, everything that comes with it, practicing and everything like that. Cause a lot of times people think it's an easy thing to come by, especially nowadays, cause everything's so like technical, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. So from, you got into hip hop at like a pretty awesome time and space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was introduced, like I'm a lot older than you. So, I had the Beastie Boys and Run DMC and got to see the birth of MTV and all that kind of stuff. And, Eric B. and Rakim in high school.
I had Eric B.
and all that. But because I was around, I had some buddies that were in the hip hop group. And so it kind of had jaded me a little bit, but like that 90s era was a pretty dope era. And then you know what? I was lucky because I didn't understand the concept of regional music.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would travel and then they would come back to LA, travel in the United States, but then they come back to LA and then they would sing like different songs that were cracking at different little conventions and stuff like that they went to. And so I got to kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit because they would go out and get exposed to music. And it was interesting. So last week I had Adrian Scott, who's a program director. He was a program director over at K-Day, probably around like 2004, 2003, 2004 or whatnot. And he was kind of, speaking upon the same topic. If you live like in LA, you have no idea that, let's say, for instance, Ice Cube's hella popping in LA, but then you could go to New York and it's crickets. You could go to Texas and it's crickets. You can go to like all these places. But one thing that I guess we're kind of blessed with being in LA or LA County is that a lot of our music tends to go there. The outreach is a little more than regional. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you'll hear LA music in Texas. You'll hear some LA music in New York. You'll hear some LA music in Atlanta and whatnot. Where I'll say a very good example of someone who was regional, but they kind of like boosted their outreach was E40. So like E40, he was a cat who was just like super from the Bay. People like, I can remember my best friend from elementary school and whatnot. He went to Grambling State University in Louisiana, and E40 was older than him, but E40 went to Grambling, and so they used to get like E40 tapes back in like I want to say like maybe 90, you know what I'm saying? Like 1990. And what he would do is he would send boxes of tapes out there to like his homeboys that were still in Grambling because he had left, and like they would sell them to, people on campus and whatnot. Yeah. And so like E40, somebody that, I mean, he's popular now because he's kind of, a cultural icon to a certain extent and whatnot. But there was a time when like people in LA really didn't know who he was, didn't want to listen to.
Like, I think it was until he had the he had that breakout album probably, I want to say, because he was doing stuff that was radio play before, but I think the album I must have been probably dropped 2005, 2004.
Yeah, but I'm talking about my boy was
yeah. I mean, you're talking
in the
about way back then.
90s. I'm talking
Yeah,
about like
yeah.
1990. Like it took him to like then to like get to the point of where he could, you know, break out, and then him and Too Short got together, and then that was like a beautiful marriage. You know what I'm saying? And
It's
all
kind of like the
that.
same thing with like I don't know, Eric Sermon. You know what I'm saying? Like when he broke out on his own, he was doing a lot of like little side projects. He had a little group called Illegals. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're like little kid rappers. So it was kind of like I don't want to say a diss, but like a more rugged side to like when Criss Cross came out. You know, Criss Cross very, very PG, family friendly kind of stuff. And then Eric Sermon had these two guys that they'd go by illegals actually. And they were rough, man. Like you would listen to the lyrics and you're just like these are kids singing like that, like rapping about like, you know, adult stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, like, Ice Cube had Caution. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that was just like I just remember hearing a Caution, but they weren't little kids. They were like almost teenagers. You know what I'm saying?
They were probably they were teenagers. They're not like they weren't like another Bad Creation little kids. There, you know what I'm saying? They were probably like, you know, 14, 15, maybe 16 years old. You know, like the Wascals. I don't know if you ever heard of the Wascals.
Yeah, I have. I knew those guys.
Yeah. So it's just like I think that's where like, you know, a lot of times even with the 90s stuff, like even like early 90s, the only way I would hear like the East Coast rap was because of like BET, because MTV wasn't playing any of the videos.
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
That's crazy. I'm dating. I'm so dated. Like I never really got into BET like that. Like I never did. Like it was dope because BET at that time BET would show like, you know, the hip hop and whatnot. But basically MTV is how I was fed up and, you know, kind of up into. So tell me this, you being a DJ a little bit, you know what I'm saying, doing your thing. Of course, we know you like hip hop. Would you say that's your favorite genre of music?
No, I love hip hop. Don't get me wrong, but like genre wise, I probably tend to like if it's something I'm playing, I probably stick more into. I'm more into like rock, maybe. Probably like I want to say, if you want to actually typecast me to a genre, I'm like very partial to playing like 80s new wave.
Okay, that was a good time too.
Yeah,
that was a good time. I was into a lot of new wave. You know, that's interesting. That's interesting. And you know the crazy thing about it, I recently did a YouTube search on new wave, and I was like, man, those guys' hair was crazy all over the place. But there was like a lot of synthesizer and keyboard stuff going on. And the crazy thing about it, there's this relationship between urban music and new wave, or like new wave influence type of musics that go on that it's funny because so I grew up in the South Bay, like Harbor City, you know what I'm saying? Highly ethnically diverse, you know, all that kind of thing. And so I got exposed to like some more urban kind of stuff. And then I remember hearing Kraftwerk for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, damn, but I never knew they were from Germany because it was beats. You know what I'm saying? It was like it was synthesizers and beats. I never even thought to think what it was. You know what I'm saying? I never even thought to think what it was. And then as I got older, then I saw, you know, these, you know, keyboard programming geniuses from Germany, you know, whatever. And I'm like, dang. So what's your favorite hip hop movie?
We're gonna go hip hop movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go something I could watch over and over, I'm gonna go with House Party.
Oh man, that's dating me, man. You're just a baby, man. You're a kid, but no, that's dope though. That is a hip hop movie though.
Yeah.
I'll say real quick though. I'm gonna give a shout out to Ben Frank, man. He always rocks with us in the chat, man. We don't have too many people in the chat, but we got Ben Frank, we got Thomas M. You know what I'm saying? A couple of faithful cats, you know what I'm saying, hanging on, interacting and whatnot. But you know, House Party. Go ahead.
What were you gonna go with? Were you gonna go with like what movie was yours? Was like Breaking 2 or I don't know, like or is it further back?
We gotta go back. You know, my favorite hip hop movie, honestly, Beat Street.
All right.
Beat Street. That was you know, the break dancing part of it like blew my mind. You got to see like I had no concept of how music was made before I saw that movie. And and like part of the storyline had to do with them making music and whatnot. I knew I had no concept really of how electronic music was made, I'll say. I was in band, so I played the trumpet a little bit. So I knew about, you know, live music a little bit, but like they showed like looping and keyboards and then bringing in people to sing and, you know, formatting a rap into the song and all this kind of stuff. And like to see that was kind of like, you know, amazing. And then the storyline, you know, the storyline was kind of dope too. And then after that, I like Breaking, but Breaking was kind of like, I mean, it was a comedy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was a, I don't know if that's the right. It has some comedic parts to it. We'll just say that were equal to the dance. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't just like it was a straight up hip hop, you know, story theme and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, but what I will say though, since you have some knowledge of hip hop and we're on the subject of movies, watch Disorderlies.
Oh, with the Fat, I was gonna bring up Disorderlies with the Fat Boys. When I was a kid, I used to watch that like all the time. Like I was probably like, I don't even know. Would that come out like in 85, 86?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you had to be a kid.
I was like 7 or 8.
You know, I developed an appreciation for it. I mean, I watched it when I was younger, but as I got older and watched it, I really developed an appreciation. And I was like, man, these guys was just some rappers. And even though it was some buffoonery and whatnot to it, there was some artistic something to what they were doing, you know.
I haven't had a chance to rewatch it as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Disorderlies, the last time I probably watched it was maybe like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, I still probably hadn't even like, now if I watched it, I'd probably be like, oh, all right. The cool thing with House Party was I was as big of a fan as I was of it because my sister was really into Kid and Play.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do stand-up comedy too, right? So I've actually had over the last 18 years, I've actually had the chance to work with Kid.
Okay.
On a few occasions because he does stand-up as well. So I've met Kid, not met him, but I've actually worked with him on a bunch of like shows and stuff like that. So that's always been cool. And I've never really, I think maybe the first time I met him, I kind of like, I marked out a little bit. Like, oh my God, can we like, let me, you know, confess my undying fanship to him. You know, but then, you know, now I see him and, you know, it's just like, hey, how's it going? How you been? You know what I mean? But he's a cool dude. He's cool can be, man.
I can't remember what he did, but he did something that wasn't the dopest thing. And, oh man. Shoot. I can't remember. He had to apologize.
It was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what he did, but he had to somebody even had to co-sign his apology. Willie D. I remember Willie D even co-signed his apology and was like, you know, I've worked with him for years and he's not that kind of guy. I can't remember what it was, but
yeah, I don't recall either.
But I'll say this though. I'll say the dopest thing House Party had to give us was Martin Lawrence, man. Seeing him come from where he was to where he is now. Like there's a lot of stars. If you go back and you watch it now, it's kind of like, man, they were the talent level.
You know,
you said, huh?
Keisha Campbell's in it.
Oh yeah.
Was AJ Johnson in it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So a lot of people came out of that.
Yeah. No, it was dope. So what city did you grow up in?
I was born in Hollywood, but I grew up in East LA. And then when I was 13, my family moved to the Riverside area. So whoa. I've been in the IE for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh no, but then you know, throughout, like, if you want to work in entertainment, like the work's in LA. So I still have to, like, you know, I still drive out to LA religiously to, you know, work, like, especially with DJing and stuff like that. So I always got to drive out towards Universal City, you know, to go work. Mm-hmm. And then all the comedy clubs are out there. Or we book like road gigs where, you know, sometimes we're in Texas, sometimes we're in, you know, and then you drive or fly out to whatever show you got to do.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle, you know.
So the transition from East LA to Riverside.
Yeah, that was a. You never really, unless you experienced it, you know, it's like you can't really explain like the big city move to the suburbs, where you're just like, there's so much space out here. Like when we lived in LA, we lived in a little apartment. Not a little apartment, but maybe it was a lot smaller than I remember because I was still small, like a kid. Mm-hmm. But I remember like the neighbors were like right next door, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you could see into the window of the neighbor's house. And then when we moved out here, like we had a house and like a big yard and like it was like not that, no traffic whatsoever, especially back in 1990 when we came out here. It was like, you know, it hadn't boomed yet out here. So
a lot of cows.
There was a lot of pastures.
You know something funny about that? My office is in Santa Fe Springs, and I can remember I had some friends and I dated a girl that were like maybe 10 minutes, no, shorter than that, like 5 minutes from my office, but off of Rosecrans in La Mirada. And it's interesting because when I think back to that, and this was like in the early 90s, like maybe 91 or so. And I think back and I remember getting off the 5 freeway and just smelling cows. Like you just smelled cows, just as you drove through to get where you're going. And there was pastures, but then there was residential. And I've been in Santa Fe Springs since like 2006, maybe like 2006. Yeah. And they still had one. They built up a lot of commercial buildings and stuff like that where a lot of the pastures was, but there was this one pasture that was still there. And man, I think the neighbors just wasn't feeling the smell of cows no more, man.
Like, when we first moved out here where we're at now, which was back in 96. We would like leave our little planned neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you travel outside of the neighborhood, and there would be the sheep would be grazing on the field with like the sheep herder, and the Air Force Base is like right here, like in our city, right? Like March Air Force Base. So Nothing. It was this Air Force base, and then just open pasture with like sheep. It was just sheep everywhere. Now it's all Amazon warehouses, and you know, because now the airport's open to industrial flights. So like, you know, UPS and FedEx, they all land their planes there now. They distribute it's all warehouses now. No more sheep. You don't see any sheep out here no more. Traffic is horrible. So now just like
Riverside is like off of what freeway?
It's off of it's in between the 91 and the 215 off the 60. So 60, the 60 going would be the 6. Yeah. Be the 60 going east, and then between the 91 and 215 going north and south.
So that's like Fontana and all that, right?
Fontana's more San Bernardino County. Okay. So that's more off the 210.
Oh man.
The 210 and the 15. Yeah, we don't associate with Fontana out here.
Man, all y'all in the sticks, man. No, I'm just kidding.
We are. I tell people all the time, like, they're like, because a lot of times I'll be at the club or I'll be leaving work, and they're like, oh, just hang out for a bit. I'm like, I gotta drive home. They're like, oh, bro, I gotta go home too. I'm like, yeah, but I got like an hour drive. They're like, where do you live? And I'm like, Riverside. They're like, damn. All right, bro. See you later. You know?
Oh man. Yeah, man. So, when did you realize you had a talent for comedy?
Actually, I didn't even know I had a talent for comedy, to be completely honest with you. I was my buddy George, who goes by DJ Cooch. He used to DJ over at Universal City Walk.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a little show on City Walk. It was called City Walk Live, and so him and his partner Xavier, they would do the DJ emceeing, and he needed to have, Universal wanted him to do improv classes.
Mm-hmm.
To, like, beef up his emceeing and hosting. So they offered to send him to a comedy class at the right here at Ontario Improv in Ontario. So he hits me up and he's like, hey, you want to come with me to this comedy class? He's like, I'll pay for your class. Just come with me. You can help me out, write some materials so we can do it. And I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out. And I went to the improv class, and then I was like, it's a 6-week course, and then you do a performance in front of a live audience afterwards. After I did my first performance, I was hooked. I was like completely hooked. I always had I was always like a sarcastic smartass. Mm-hmm. I just never thought I could structure to actually writing material based on life experiences and stuff like that. I never thought comedy was that complicated. I always thought it was just like, hey, why'd chicken cross the road? Or, because I would watch Dangerfield. Dangerfield, to me, was comic. One of the greats, actually. But like nowadays, it's like, I don't know, like there's still comics that do that, but you got to be like really like spot on to do one-liners. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like one line, but for me, it's like it's storytelling. There's different types of comedy, like stand-up comedy, and I fell more into storytelling. So if you see me perform, I like to think of it like when you're riding with your friend in a car, and then your friend's telling you, bro, guess what happened yesterday? And then he tells you the story and you guys are laughing. And that's how I try to present what I'm trying to say to the audience. Like, we're all in one big car and I'm telling you a story of, this is what happened to me. It's crazy. You're not going to believe it. And then I'll do my whole, story, like my whole, my set,
what was dope about Dangerfield? He could say, he would have been canceled today. That's a fact.
Oh, yeah.
That's a fact. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because, like, he could, to me, the art of a comedian, they can say the most offensive thing
and get away with it,
but without being a bully.
Yeah.
Because that's the part. Like, and that's where, a lot of people that are funny, not to say, like, I don't think a lot of funny people are comedians in my personal you know, because you can be funny and not be a comedian. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are funny and they can say something to make people laugh, but it's highly offensive, you know, like it's like almost like, you know, one of the things that I kind of gravitate to in a comedian is a comedian that can interact with the audience, but he won't bully anybody. You know what I'm saying? He knows that it's like, you know, like, man, example, I think Mike Tyson did pop that guy that he was on the plane with that just kept on messing with him or whatever. Like it was, a while ago.
He did. He turned around and he turned around and he gave him a couple.
But it took a lot to get Mike stirred up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even with Mike getting stirred up, he still didn't. I mean, he got frustrated, but like, man, Mike could have did something to that guy that would have lasted for the rest of his days. You know what I'm saying?
But the funny thing you say about Tyson is there's a clip of Tyson at a comedy show, and it's like what you say, where the comic is going at Mike Tyson, but he's not bullying him. So Tyson's laughing it off, like, oh, that's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember who the comic was. I don't remember who the comic was, but I think it's the connection you have. Like if you can connect with the audience to where like, because a lot of times even like as we tend to fall into, so I'm Latino, right? So a lot of people think, oh, I'm only going to connect with Latino people. Or if I was, you know, Black, it'd be like, oh, it's Black comedy or it's white comedy. I think it's like more of like, everyone has the same life experiences, really, if you think about it. So, I mean, if you could connect on that level where we all have relationships, we all have jobs, we've all gone to school, we've all had downs and ups and downs, and we've all had pets, you know, we've all been in a car accident. Like if you could connect to it on a level where it's like, this is an experience that everyone can like, you know, gel with it. You know what I mean?
Identify with it. Yeah, no,
yeah, it doesn't have to be like, oh, just because we, you know, grew up speaking Spanish, like, you know, now I'm gonna, you know, you're not gonna understand the material. You know what I'm saying? Because I talk about my parents all the time, but everyone has parents, right? Like, so, like, you know, and it's just I think it's just the way of putting it in a situation where people could be like, oh shit, my parents are like that too. You know what I'm saying?
So if you had to choose comedy, music, cooking.
Oh, I would choose comedy. I think with the comedy, it's just for me, that's something I never planned on doing, but it's something I plan on doing for a long time. With DJing, I've been DJing for 30 years. I mean, so like, the first time I picked up a record and put it on the turntable, I was 15. You know, I'm 44 now. So like, you know, I don't know. I think it's like, especially corporate wise, like, I don't know. I think maybe I don't want to say I'm past my prime, but I think like, you know, unless you're like been a bigger name in the world, like if you're like, I'm not calling any of the DJs from, you know, that came before me old, but like, unless you can, it's like comedy, like unless you're a draw, there's no real interest in booking you once you reach a certain age. You know what I mean?
You know, it's interesting with, you know, I tend to watch more YouTube now. Like YouTube is like what CNN used to be to me. Like I used to be, you know, but I'll listen to talk radio. You know what I'm saying? And I thought I would never be one of those people that could listen to talk radio. But one of the things that I liked about talk radio, or like about talk radio, is that you can hear two people have a conversation and you may be totally against one of the people's point of view, but more times than not, the person who you would not agree with is proficient within their stance and they're a little educated in it. So when they communicate it to you, you could say, well, you know what, I don't agree, but they can articulate it to you enough. You're like, okay, I understand something new. Then you can have somebody else who may lean closer to your views or values have the conversation with them. And it's just kind of like an educational thing. Like I learned you can't, just because you're not rocking with somebody and you just don't want to hear what they have to say, that should draw you in to listen more. Like you should say, like, man, I need to know what they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like we could plant that little seed of curiosity where you're like, I don't know. I know me and this guy probably have nothing in common, but I want to hear what he has to say. You know what I mean? And I get that, you know, with it's like what you're saying with talk radio, because a lot of times I'll listen to talk radio and I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with what this guy's saying, but he does make some valid points. So now I want to curious to like see where his points are coming from, you know? And then
so, no, for sure. So how'd you get the name Don Hefty?
So originally it was DJ Hefty, right? What a lot of people think, I'm a big dude, so a lot of people think Hefty's big, whatever. But it's a funny, like when I first started DJing, we were searching desperately for a DJ name because all the cool names were taken back in, you know, 90, probably like, what I want to say, like maybe like 94, 95. A lot of, you know, like, you know, it was like, you know, DJ Boogie and DJ, you know, like there was all taken. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to call myself. And at the time, the whole Rebel thing was in. I don't know if you remember Rebels back in the days, like they dressed like the 50s greasers. And I would always tend to not iron my shirts, but I always wore black. And I was a pretty thin, well-built teenager, but I would never iron my shirts. And my friend Tommy one day says, "Man, it always looks like you're wearing a Hefty bag." And then he's like, "We're just gonna call you DJ Hefty." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess that sounds cool," you know, because I remember the Hefty Cinch Stack commercials, right? And then through comedy, I dropped the DJ part, and I was just going as Hefty for a bit. And then I had a comic colleague, her named Sandra Valls. She would always come to the shows, and she would be like, "Oh, it's Don Hefty," because for us, the word Don, it's like kind of like the Italians. It's like you know, sir. Like, Don. So like she would always call me Don Hefty, and then she was like, "You should just call yourself Don Hefty." And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do that. And that was probably like 15 years ago. And then here we are now. You know, that's my stage name. You know, my doing business as.
Hey man.
You know?
Hey, no, I feel you. So what was it?
A lot of people think my name is Donald for some reason.
Oh man.
For real.
Hey, I mean, you know, it's not far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched, you know. And it's funny because if you call me Don, or Donald, I tend to turn around like, "Yeah, what's up?" Because I'm just so used to hearing it, you know.
Oh man.
Usually just like my little inner circle of people, which is not that many people, will call me by my actual name, you know.
You know, you talking about, I'm gonna slide this in. This is what the question, I just got to. So, you know, I had this theory. And so, you know how you'll see guys that have like they're like in the rockabilly and all that, and then they wear pompadours, like huge pompadours, but they're like older, you know, and like we'll say like 60, 70 years old, and they roll cigarettes up on their sleeve and everything. And my theory is the reason those guys still do it today, like we might look at it and be like, "Oh man, that's out of style." Like if we saw somebody wearing bell bottoms that weren't like a model on a runway or something like that, we'd be like, "Man, they wearing bell bottoms," or just whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that the guys that wear the cigarettes rolled up on their sleeve and the pompadours, I think the reason they do it is because once upon a time they called girls with that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And so
I mean, if you're catching flies with honey, why are you going to change the recipe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's my theory, man. And so they'll rock it, you know, they'll rock it. Or when you see people with like crazy mustaches and beards and stuff like that, like, man.
When I was in my pompadour days back in the 90s, I mean, It was, I don't want to say it was a chick magnet, but my batting average was a lot better than it is now.
Hey man, whatever, whatever.
Now I had to grow this beard so I could do it now, but
Hey man. Whatever works, man. I really don't have too many choices when it comes to the hairstyling and all that. So I just tend to rock, the straight convertible. You know what I'm saying? We keep it just.
I used to shave my head too, and then I lost a bet where I had to grow my hair out. So I started growing it out, and then once it grew out, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it. I haven't grown my hair long in probably like 12 years. And right now I have it ponytailed because it's like super long now. So like now everyone's trying to get me to cut it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna cut it.
Man, you gonna rock it until you can't no more, man.
You know what? I'm gonna rock it until I lose another bet and I have to cut it. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's right. So when you were in junior high school, what was the soundtrack going on at that time?
Oh, junior high school, man. 7th grade, I remember the hot track when I was in 7th grade was "Summertime" by Will Smith. Oh, by summer.
No.
Yeah, that was a hot track. Vanilla Ice had just hit. There was Crisscross. There was it was a lot like the poppy stuff. Belle Biv DeVoe.
All right.
MC Hammer was still there, but then that's when other people like Special Ed started coming up.
Interesting thing about MC Hammer. I just saw a documentary on Hammer, and it was interesting because my peer group kind of made Hammer out to be somewhat of a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was doing was really kind of incredible. There was I couldn't get into watching him dance. Even now, I couldn't get into that. But there was something to him. He did have the it factor. It wasn't for me, but he definitely had the it factor.
I think the thing with Hammer was that he was able to do so much. Like he brought hip hop mainstream basically. Even was it the best hip hop? Probably not. But the dude had a cartoon, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? He was up there, as far as bridging gaps, you know what I mean?
I'll say what he doesn't get his props for is being one of the forerunners of the tech world. Like he was one of the before all these influencers that were, either musicians or actors or whatever, got into the whole tech thing. Like Hammer was on that way back then, man. He was on technology for sure. So senior year in high school, you about to graduate. What did you think your journey was going to be?
So my senior year in high school, I was graduating. I didn't have a college plan when I was graduating. So I figured I was going to do the sabbatical a little bit, maybe take a year off and then go to junior college. Mm-hmm. So I can, see what I was going to do. Cause I really didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. At that time, music wasn't a career choice for me. You know what I mean? Cause it was just it was DJing. I don't know if even my mom would be like, oh, you think you're going to DJ your whole life? But I mean, Jesus, here I am, in my 40s still doing it. But senior in high school, during that summer of my senior year, I ended up meeting this girl, and I ended up getting married, and ended up working at a RV assembly line for a few years with no college degree or anything, just a high school diploma, just to you support your family, you know what I mean? And then it wasn't until years later, it's probably 2007, where I was divorced, and then I said to myself, I always liked cooking, so I went to culinary school, got my degree in culinary arts and business management, got a nutrition certificate. I worked at restaurants for a bit, and then I decided that I didn't want to punch clocks anymore, so I started my own little catering side business on top of doing DJing on the side. And doing comedy on the nights, and that's just been the journey for like probably like the last 10 years.
Nah, that's dope. I'm gonna shout out real quick Thomas. Thomas been rocking with us. And I don't know if this Thomas is Gargamel or not, because I know I do not know Gargamel's real last name. But yeah, Thomas M is rocking with us, and
I didn't know Gargamel's name was Thomas.
Oh
shit. But now I know, and knowing's half the battle.
Oh yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? There's so many code names and handshakes and
oh yeah.
You know, whatever, to the whole little nine. So how did you meet Gargamel?
I actually met him for the very first time this year. We were doing I was doing La Bulla for Antonio Pelayo. I was hosting the and then Antonio had asked me if I wanted to do a mix session on the live broadcast for promoting the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at Gargamel's office over in Whittier.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the actual first time that we like met face to face. And then because I had seen him prior at House Issues.
Okay.
But we didn't meet but now we met, and then like since then like we've talked, we've chatted on the DMs and stuff, and he had, but I think like for not knowing him very well, like I think he's a cool ass dude. Like I see,
nah, he's a great cat, man. So I met him through somebody that I knew back in like 1990, 89, 90. And then they were like middleman in something. And somehow they ended up not being the middleman. And I ended up dealing directly with Gargamel. And it's crazy because I messed with music a little. Well, I worked in the music situation a little bit. And when we met, he came by my office, and we kind of hit it off. And we just on a business. I have a slip mat company. I make slip mats. And so one of the things I do, I make slip mats. And so we kind of did our business on that level. And then he's one of those rare people where he was just like, man, whatever you need, I got you. And, you hear everybody say that, what I'm saying? Whatever you need, I got you. Yeah, right. And then it's just like, okay, every time I hit him up, yeah, I got it. It's like, he produces, like every time he says he produces. And then I want to say I went to go and see him DJ somewhere or something, just like on a humbug. I wanted to pass by, and I saw that his knowledge of hip hop and dance music was like kind of equal. And like I listened to house music probably about, I'll say between house music and disco, at least 4 or 5 hours a day. Like that's just what I listen to. And then I mix in a little bit of contemporary, a little sprinkle of contemporary, and then I'll go back to like some old school hip hop, and I listen to hip hop mixes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But I just kind of thought it was dope that Thomas, if you looked at him, you'd have no idea he does what he does. And then he started going into stories about DJ Aladdin, and I'm like, damn, he really knows hip hop. And then he really knows LA hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then from him being cool and being knowledgeable as far as the LA hip hop stuff, then you get into his relationships with these house music cats, like OG house music cats. And I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So no, I say all that to say, man, no, Gargamel, he's I'll definitely say he's a friend. You know what I'm saying? He's I've never seen him do opposite than whatever he says. I've never.
I guess he's a cat you can count on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he's solid. He's about as solid. And I guess the reason why I kind of just hone in and harp on him like that is because for me, I've dealt in the entertainment industry. So I've seen people say everything, man. I've seen them say everything. I've seen them, be in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Gargamel's not an in the moment type cat. Whatever it is, and if it ain't, it ain't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that being said, out of the DJing, out of the culinary arts, out of the comedy, which is giving you the best life experience?
I don't know. I think equally with DJ and comedy, they both actually like offered different sides of experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you meet different people. I think comedy wise, experience wise, I don't know, it's a little bit different. But I mean, if I had to choose the one that's giving me the best, I'm gonna go with DJing just because I've been doing it longer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think each one has its parallels. You know, like I could probably match stories. Oh, you know, one time I was DJing, and then you'd be like, well, one time I was doing stand up at this bar in Alabama. You know, and it probably like match up equally to the story when I was, you know what I mean, doing a corporate party where all they wanted was country music. I don't know, you know, because nowadays I do a lot of corporate events. I don't really do nightclubs, you know, or festivals. You know what I mean? A more open format corporate DJ. So,
you know, today I had to go to a vendor and pick up some stuff last minute for a client, and so I've been to this vendor like 3 times, and I'll send one of my employees to go down there, but I had to get something fast, and so I went down there, and what I noticed is that they play nothing but country music. And I don't know what the owners are, but from the look of the office, the office, and they have probably about 15 employees on the, you know, in cubicles on the floor. And you wouldn't think that any of those employees would be their preference of, you know,
music.
Their listening pleasures. But the funny thing about contemporary country music right now, it mimics everything that popular music is. And so like while I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for my orders to get pulled and stuff like that, I'll hear trap music, I'll hear hip hop, I'll hear, you know, just straight up like Post Malone or Kanye type of pop music. And I'm like, damn, this would cut. And then they'll say, oh, LA's country music station, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Country has really evolved into something that it's just not what it used to be. Like you,
yeah. I feel you. No, I feel you. Go on.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say you can listen to it and you have no idea that you're listening to country music.
You're like, those are country art. You know, I didn't realize that, and I was at Stagecoach. So a buddy of mine was DJing at Stagecoach. So he invited me, he gave me a pass to go with him, and I was like, I'm not. I mean, I listen to country music, but I'm not like, I wouldn't like go to Stagecoach if I had to buy a ticket, I wouldn't go. You know, but I went just to see what was up because my sister had gone the year before, and I went to go a couple of live performances, and I was like, music it's not what I thought it was. You know, it's like what you said. I was like, I could hear bits of this type of music and bits of this type of music, and then I was watching. I want to say it was Luke Bryan, and then Snoop Dogg came out and did a drop verses over one of his songs, and I was like, yo, like what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, Snoop's here. You know what I mean?
That's the documentary I'm waiting for. Urban music has always lended its hand to country. You know what I'm saying?
I think
that's something that they've never. One more time.
I think urban music has done it. It's had hands in almost probably every music genre event at some point or another. You know, even if you go into salsa music and all that other stuff, Spanish music, I mean, that all has urban roots. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. So now we're gonna get interesting. You being younger than me, and this is one that I've been kind of thinking about all day. So, your top 3 comedic influences.
My top 3 comedic influences. Let's see here. from when I started doing comedy. So when I was doing comedy, or before I started doing comedy, I was a big fan of Kevin James. I don't know if you know, he was on the show called King of Queens. So it was Kevin James, there's another comedian named Alex Raimundo. I saw him perform a few times, and then I saw he had a DVD out called Latin Kings of Comedy. And it was like he was on there with a couple other comedians, Joey Medina, George Lopez, Paul Rodriguez. But for me, he stood out for me even before I did comedy, and I was like, I like the way his style is, And then I don't know if you know who Mitch Hedberg is. Mm-hmm. Mitch Hedberg was kind of a king of the one-liners too, like after Dangerfield. Like he would do jokes like, I have so much tartar in my teeth, I don't need to dip my fish sticks and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's I'm not doing the joke justice, but if you hear
I get it.
Yeah, if you hear his set, they're just observational one-liners. You know what I mean?
So tell me this. What do you think of Red Fox?
I like Red Fox.
But I
never had a chance to see or like to listen to one of his actual like sets. Mm-hmm. But I know Red Fox from the TV.
Sanford and Son.
Man,
please look him up on YouTube, man, and you'll see the complete opposite of what you saw. The same brilliance.
Yeah,
I mean unfiltered, man. I mean,
yeah, I'd have to actually look it up now that you piqued my interest. Now that you told me that, you know what I mean.
So what you got on Sanford? So what you got on Sanford and Son? That was like
toned down.
No, it was refined. So it was like Martinelli's apple juice, super carbonated, ice cold, crisp. The stand-up Red Fox is that brown, unfiltered apple juice. Tastes great.
With the pulp in it? With the pulp in it still?
Almost, man.
So, like, let me ask you the same question. Like, comedic-wise, what are your three top one? Three?
I would say Richard Pryor. I'd say Richard Pryor, Red Fox. And on a contemporary level, and I don't feel proud to say it, but he's one of the most ignorant people that I love to listen to, Corey Holcomb.
Oh, yeah.
On a contemporary level, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel but because he just speaks his mind. Now, with that, you do have the error of speaking your mind all the time. And what happens when you just shooting a gun and not looking, and you just letting off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no. I've done shows with Corey, so
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll say that his average makes up for the wildness. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, So okay, with that being said, so your top 3 musical influences.
Top 3 musical, that's a good one.
So if you're DJing a party, let's just say it's a corporate gig, but they want you to do your thing. What are going to be the 3 records that you're going to play for sure?
The 3 you cut up right there. The 3 what?
The 3 records you're going to play for sure.
Oh, for sure. I'll play Raspberry Beret by Prince. Because that song, I love that song. I don't know, a lot of people probably don't like it. I love that song. I always play it. It's one of the songs I always play every time I'm at work. Mm-hmm. People even you're gonna call me cheesy for it, but I'm a sucker for playing Uptown Funk.
Ah, man, that's that you got a corporate gig. That's
you have to play people. It. And if you're gonna go with corporate gigs, like songs that I hate playing, but I would play it, Cupid Shuffle. Does it influence me? No, but I mean, if like as a music lover, influence wise, like I don't know, if we go artists, like music artists, I'm probably gonna go with. I love a Tribe Called Quest, and I do play them often in my sets.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, I'm gonna spin it back.
Yeah.
Raider Chuck made a comment, and the reason why I'm gonna go back to his comment is because he said in the 80s Eddie Murphy, and you know it's crazy because I could never catch Eddie stand up, man. I've tried, and so my little thing that I do with myself is every 2 years I try to watch Raw, or I just try to watch, but I can't catch it. Now Eddie Murphy in movies, I love the Clumps,
I love
in the Nutty Professors, and in like all that kind of stuff. Vampire in Brooklyn, I think Vampire in Brooklyn is one of the most genius movies ever. Please. I know that's a little older than you,
I remember maybe Vampire in Brooklyn.
Okay. Yeah, Vampire in Brooklyn, dude. When he was the preacher and he's all these characters, and he got John Witherspoon in there, Let
me tell you this about Eddie Murphy, though. Like, comedic actor-wise, the dude's brilliant. Pluto Nash got so much. What he did in the movie, though, to me was great. Like, like the character, like you believed he was Pluto Nash. The writing around it, maybe not so good, but like I enjoyed like the character development that he had in the movie. I agree with you completely on his stand-up. I've never been and as a comic, it's weird because a lot of people are like, oh my god, you're not into Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, I've seen his stand-up. I've never been a fan of his stand-up.
I'm like, not saying.
Maybe not. I don't want to say maybe not a fan. It's just, it's not one of those stand-up specials I would watch over and over again.
I'll say that I just can't connect to it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that because so as like a music manager, one of the things that I kind of came to the realization of a long time ago is everything's not for you, but because it's not for you, you still need to be able to recognize what it is. And so I know that there's enough people that love Eddie Murphy to know that he's highly talented as a stand-up comedian. I mean, I know there's enough people that love him, but I don't connect to it. I like, dude, I've tried, but I will say this. When he went, when he did Saturday Night Live, I had never watched Eddie Murphy, but then that's something where my peers that connected with his Saturday, when he was on Saturday Night Live, that probably helped them with the stand-up. But for me, I never watched Saturday Night Live. Like, it wasn't my thing. But when I saw him go on Saturday Night Live, I think it was like maybe a year ago or something like that, it was the funniest television I've seen in my adult life, man.
I think it has a lot to do with like what you said with Red Fox. Like Saturday Night Live, it's a honed in, toned down, more refined version of Eddie Murphy as what you would see on Raw, where he's got no censors. He's can openly, a lot of stuff that he talks about on Raw, you probably couldn't say in today's times. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And Thomas M, he just he just hit it. He's over here coming with him. You talking about Trading Places, Harlem Nights. Oh yeah. Man.
I mean, if you're gonna get into Eddie Murphy and you were talking about music genres, I mean, I'm not out. People know me for playing sometimes off the wall stuff, and I've been known to drop, Party All the Time into a mix. You know what I mean?
Man, you know what? I want to come and see you DJ, because I'm gonna share with one of you my secret. It's nothing sexual. I won't call it Nah, it's not a perversion. It's like a secret. It's like I'll share with you one of my secret pleasures. Before COVID, I would go like out to Orange County, and I used to get a kick out of watching these 80s bands, these 70s, like they do like 70s cover, 70s, 80s funk soul cover bands. And I would just love to see those bands play like play that funky music, White Boy, and like all that kind of music. And like I really didn't connect with any of the crowd, but I just love to have some drinks and see people play like, you know, music to make people dance. You know what I'm saying?
Feel good music, man.
Yeah.
Feel good music, you know.
You know, the kind of parties where they got platform shoes and afros, man. I mean, I never wear no platform shoes and afro.
I mean, I love being at a bar, and then all of a sudden I start hearing like the intro to September by Earth, Wind and Fire come on, and it just puts me in a good mood, you know.
Yeah. I miss that, man. I really miss that. So with that being said, in comedy, your most iconic moment.
My most iconic moment, like I got to do a couple of years ago, I was able to open up for a good friend of mine over at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Sold out crowd in the big arena, which to me was mind blowing because, you know, a lot of times you do stand up and you know, especially when you first start off, you do open mic, and you know, you do all these other things. And I recorded for TV and stuff before, but they're always smaller audiences. But to be in a showroom, in a Vegas showroom, at a major hotel, opening for a national headliner, I was mind blown. I was mind blown because I'm sitting in the green room in the back, and across the hallway in the other green room is Boys to Men, because they had the 8 o'clock show on the same stage because they had a residency at the Mandalay. So they come into the green room because they know the headlining comic, and they're talking, and then I'm over here talking with Sean, right? Sean from Boys to Men.
Yeah.
And we're shooting the shit about Avengers. He's telling me he had taken his kids to go watch it and this and that, and I'm just like, and in my mind, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm sitting on a couch talking to one of the members of Boys to Men, like, how mind blown am I like right now? And at the same time, I'm like, he probably thinks I'm cool as fuck because I'm not fanning like fanboying on him. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's dope, man. You gonna stick around and watch our show? He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to catch your set. And I'm like, oh cool, you know, like, and I'm just like, for me, like, because Boys to Men to me was very influential growing up, you know. So like that whole thing, it was an iconic moment for me because I got to go on stage. I got off stage. As soon as I get off stage, Louis Anderson is backstage at the show, tells me he caught my whole set.
All right.
And we're talking, and he's like, hey, I'd like to, if you don't mind, like, give you some pointers. And he's like, yeah, you know, we exchanged emails, and then like my buddy that was with me was like, bro, like, you know who that was, right? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, I was shocked. I was like shook the whole night. I was just like, because, you know, like at that point I had been doing comedy for maybe 15 years. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, to me, it was the most surreal moment, you know, like, you know, it wasn't really like the biggest thing where it's like, oh, a Netflix special or something like that. But like, to me, it was like where I kind of felt like I'm on the right track to do stuff. You know what I mean? Okay. Like where you have people that have succeeded in the career you're in, and people you look up to in another career telling you like, hey, dude, you killed it. You did good. You know what I'm saying? Like the audience reacting to your jokes, like a large audience, like when you're able to connect with the audience that size, it just makes you feel like, all right, cool. Like maybe there's something here. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's dope. So, a couple years back, one of my friends ended up getting hustled out of an Instagram account. You know, thank God he got it back. And I couldn't understand how it happened, but so he and another mutual friend of ours, they both had gotten hustled out of their accounts. And so when it happened, it kind of happened around the same time. And so I got the both of them on the phone, and they're having a conversation, and like I'm not understanding the conversation. And then like 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh. And so we came up with this part of the podcast that's called the Monkey Hustle Chronicles. And so the Monkey Hustle Chronicles is basically, it could either be something that happened to you, or i.e. something that happened to someone that you know. So real quick, and I do it every time I do the Monkey Hustle Chronicles. So to you, this may look like a brick, but I got 3 of these, and they were $350 camcorders, wrapped in cardboard paper with pictures on them and everything. And they look like you know, I thought they were camcorders until I opened them up. But my question to you, what's the craziest hustle that you've ever been hustled, or the hustle that you've seen one of your friends get hustled?
So craziest hustle that I've ever had happened to me and my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law calls me one day, and he's like, bro, this dude's selling fucking iPods. This is probably like 2007, 2008. This dude's selling iPods, bro. Like, they're like $50. And I'm like, what? I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm going to pick one up for me, one for your sister. He's like, do you want one? I'm like, yeah, dude, pick one up for me, dude. Cause so he buys the iPods, right? And then my other brother-in-law buys one too. So now it's $200 total. We're out, right? So about 4 of these iPods. So they bring them to me, right? They bring them to my house because I'm the one that DJs that have all the MP3s, so I can load up the iPods, right? And so the iPod, I unwrap the iPod, take it out of the, and it's the iPod box, right? It's perfect iPod box. I'm excited. Yeah, like it was like a pink one, 2 gray ones, and a blue one. I remember clearly. I opened it up, and I was like, all right, cool. Cause I had an iPod earlier before, but it was like the big brick one, like the first ones.
Yeah.
So this one was the thin one, the nano, I guess, but the connection was the same. So I open up the box for the first one, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, the only thing it had was a headphone slot. So they turned out to be little digital radios with just the headphone slot. You couldn't upload any music to it. All you could do is get like local signals on it to listen to on the headphones. And we were out $200. We were out
You're the second iPod hustle I've heard. I want to say if it wasn't last week, it might have been the week before that somebody had an iPod hustle. But I can see, oh man.
I could tell you I was hustled out of quite a large sum of money by but then that was through marriage, so that's not really a monkey hustle. You know what I'm saying?
That's definitely a monkey hustle. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely a well thought out at some point in time, and you know.
That was more of a kitty cat hustle, you know what I mean? But you know, hustle me out of this, you know.
Man. So your ultimate goal, how would you like to be viewed in the long run?
In the long run, I would like by my peers or by
yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would say I would like to be viewed as someone who's like, you know, did everything he could to like, I don't want to say live the life I want to live, but like succeed as much as I try to. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look back at me and like people were to be like, "Oh, Don Hefty, like, you know what? That dude did everything possible to try to get where he wanted to get."
All right. Nah, that's fair. That's fair. So, the pandemic. How did that play a role in your process? Did you thrive? Did you like how did it work? And real quick, so my co-host, comedian Jeremy Scipio, he's not here today. I know two comedians. I'm friends with him and I'm friends with Sling Johnson. And it was interesting because when the pandemic hit, I really saw both of them withdraw, not being able to stand on a stage. Like they really, there's something more than telling jokes that they get out of,
you get energy. It's therapeutic.
The careers of comedian. And it was interesting because both of them were doing comedy shows that were kind of like probably, I mean, I'll say it now, it's after the fact,
What, virtual comedy shows? Is that what you wanted to say?
Nah, and with the culture going on right now and everybody talking about snitching, I don't want to tell on nobody. But man, these dudes was doing shows, man. I mean, they were like spaced out and distanced out. But at the time, you weren't supposed to do shows or whatever. But
yeah, we used to call them speakeasy shows.
Yeah, but man, people were making it happen. And
I did a few of those.
And it amazed me because it was kind of like at that time the world had changed so much. And it was kind of like, okay, stay away from everybody, blah, 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 blah. And these dudes are showing me pictures on their phones and stuff like that. And they're like, no, man, I just hit a stage. And I'm like, you hit a stage? Like, what kind of,
what's funny is the speakeasy shows. I remember the first one I did was probably in August of the pandemic. And I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to go out tonight. They're like, well, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go do a comedy show. And they're like, what? Like, there's no gatherings going on. And there used to be this little wine bar in Temecula that would it would be closed, but it would be open. Maybe 30, 40 people in there.
Hey man, that's all you need.
Pat.
All you need. That's all you need. Good old party.
We would come in, we would do the show because they had a little back room. And everyone would be on their way afterwards. Distance. Everyone was distanced, but because at one point it just got being stuck. I'm a homebody, believe me. I love being at home, but I don't love being at home that much. You know what I'm saying? Whereas and luckily for me, like you were saying, like a lot of times, especially DJing and comedy, you're used to being out. For me, 90% of my work is at the park, right? Where I work at right now. So like that all shut down. So I had like zero work. All the comedy clubs shut down. I had zero work. Luckily, I was able to pivot into my culinary degree, and I started doing. I opened up a ghost kitchen at my house. So I started doing meal prep and empanadas, and just little like catering stuff, and I would just have people come and pick it up.
Man, let me tell you something, man. My next door neighbor, she kills the game with the carnitas, the Cuban pork, and the birria. She kills the game. You need to hook up some of those birria empanadas, man. You know what I'm saying? I'll take a dozen.
I do a birria empanada where I cook the birria the night before, slow cook it. And then I usually sell out of them because I could only make so many. So if I get like a 10-pound piece of beef, I could probably knock out 7 dozen empanadas. So I'll tell people like, yo, I got birria empanadas, like hit me up before I sell out. And usually it's just like bam, bam, bam. Let me get 2, let me get 1. And I'm done. And then like I have to offer people other things, like, because I do them the way I do it, because I don't do the meal prep no more, but my empanada business is still going. And it's funny that you say someone got hustled off of their page, because my Facebook page was where I was driving most of my business, especially over through the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And someone hacked my original Facebook page, and I wasn't able to get it back, and I lost all my clientele.
Oh man!
And I had to reopen a new Facebook page. I got some of the clientele back. I got some new ones, but the last year it's been growing again, but it wasn't where it was at before my page got hacked, the old one.
Man, this cat Raider Chuck, man, I don't believe him. He said your empanadas are fire. I need to see it for myself, man. I don't believe Raider Chuck, man. Raider Chuck.
That's the homie. He hooks it up. That dude is an IPA connoisseur. You know.
Oh man, I'm over here right now, man. I got a little something going on. You know.
That my cat knows his he knows his beverages,
craft beers,
his craft beers. But
so tell me this though. Are you doing any orders before New Year's?
Yeah, I actually got I'm doing them before New Year's, because New Year Eve is on Saturday, right? So I would have any orders I'm doing this week, I would have them out by Friday. So
tell me this, your empanadas, do you give them to people already fried, or do they fry them themselves?
I give them to people fried already.
Okay.
And then usually fried, if you want to like freeze them, they hold really good in the freezer for a few weeks. And all you really got to do is pop them in the toaster oven, 360 for about 12 minutes. They reheat perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Without getting brown. I do them raw for there used to be a little restaurant I was doing orders for. And they would pick them up raw already, like, and then all they would do was, when they were to order, they would just fry them for whoever was ordering them. But I think they figured out how to do them on their own now, so they don't need me no more. You gave them enough, man. They went. They dissected my talent and then just started making it. No hate on it. It's not like. Man. I mean, maybe the flavors aren't exactly, but I'm sure they were able to duplicate something equally as delicious. So more power to them. You know, success. They're still going, so I ain't mad about that. No, all good. Well, I'm definitely gonna have an order in by tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let me know, man. Right now I'm doing I'm doing apple pie. I got a spicy beef, and I have a chicken and hatch chili. Man, you got to do the well. I got a special request, and then we'll see if you can pull it off or not. If you can't, if you got a special request, just let me know, and I'm sure I could do it. I would love a beef or chicken Jamaican patty filling and an empanada, man. Oh, I could do that totally. Dude, let me tell you how much of a foodie I am. I had a cat who worked for me, and he's Mexican, but he's from the part of Mexico that's the closest to the next country that's south of him. I don't know if it was El Salvador. I don't know if it was like on the border of Mexico. My geography is horrible, but whatever is the country right below Mexico. And his mom would make these tamales in a banana leaf. Yeah. I straight gave him some jerk chicken filling and had the jerk chicken. Where my parents are from, we do we call them mayacas. Okay. It's the Quechua name or the Inca name for it, and ours, the way we do them is in banana leaf too. It's steamed in banana leaf as well. I think maybe if it's Nicaragua, they're probably naca tamales, which is it's okay. Kind of it's all the same. It's all the same. Like, you know, they're called pastelitos in Puerto Rico, and everywhere has their own. Oh man, you know, similar recipe. I'll tell you this. I believe Porto's has one, and this Cuban place by my house, but they have these Cuban tamales, man. Woo!
with the garlic, with the mojo sauce. Anyway, man, I talk about food forever, man. We about to run through it.
I thought you were gonna tell me about the Portos, the potato balls. I was like, I just made those for Christmas.
Oh yeah, yeah. you gonna make me
I'll hook up. Let me know, man. Hit me up on the personal, and we'll work out the jerk chicken one. You know.
Oh yeah, I'm about to put something into you tomorrow, man, and we'll see how realistic it is to make it happen.
Yeah, well, the realism's there. Like the kill beef make it so where you're like, oh, these are delicious. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So, if you had a biopic, what would it be called?
My Life as a Dog.
Oh shit! All right. Oh shit! That's a good one. All right.
It's funny that I had it so on top of the head because I've been writing like not a memoir, but for years I've been writing little things down, and I've always told my buddy Mikey, one day I'm gonna publish this, and he's like, what are you gonna call it? I'm like, I'm gonna call it My Life as a Dog, and he's like, why? And I'm like, I was like, there's a lot of similarities, and then he's like, and then he was like, that's actually pretty dope. He's like, it's something I'd want to read. If I saw that byline somewhere, he's like, I don't want to read that. So
who would you have play you in a biopic?
Play me in a biopic? You know what? I don't know. I mean, a lot of times people be like, oh, I'll pick, Brad Pitt or something, but I'd probably pick the big dude Hurley from Lost.
Okay.
Just for the similarities and like he can get through, like, especially now that I'm older and I'm a heavier set, you know what I'm saying? It'd have to be different actors to take on different timelines in my memoirs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So now we down to the last two. If you could have your dream versus dead or alive, who would it be?
My dream versus dead or alive? Oh, that's a good one. All right. My dream, I don't know if you remember a group called the Fushnikins.
Yep. Shaq was rapping with them.
Yeah, they had there was a rapper on there. His name was Chip Fu.
Yep, he was like Asian. He was Jamaican, I think, but he looked Asian and black. Yeah.
I would love to see Chip Fu versus Busta Rhymes.
Chip Fu. Was Chip Fu was he the one that looked like he was black and Asian, or the darker?
He's the one that he was a speed rapper.
Okay, yeah, but he was fast. I know you're talking about though. My ear.
Yeah.
I'm not able to connect the visual, but my ear. Yeah, they were fast. Yeah,
he's the one that goes, I hip hop up. I don't stop up. I'm hotter than fire. But I stick him. Ha ha ha. Stick can of rock. That dude.
Yeah.
But I think just for the creativity in lyrics and then the speed it's delivered in, and I know Busta has that too. Okay. So to me that would be like a battle. I'd be like, oh, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? But if you're gonna go not with us anymore, I would love to see Big Pun versus Biggie.
Dang. But nah.
Let's go Chris Rios versus Christopher Wallace. Let's see who takes the battle of the Chris's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say, you know what? I wouldn't say with them two, to make it fair, I wouldn't want to see them do it. I just want a DJ to play the songs, man. Because Pun used to have to punch in all his songs because so you wouldn't want to watch that. Like, it
was a lot of his tracks were done in sections, or not a full blown like hey, we're gonna do 3 minutes straight.
Yeah. Nah, that's dope.
Now I'm curious to know what your dream verses would be.
Man, my dream verses would probably be Samande. It sounds crazy, and it's not hip hop at all. But I probably like to see the original Third World and see them go up against Samande. Samande is a group, they did like Fence Walk, and a lot of classic breaks and stuff like that come from them. But those two, I think that they're both two groups that were just so dynamic in live music. And I would man, that's what I would like to, man, if in the afterlife you can go see music or whatever, that probably be the concert I'll be walking around asking people about.
That'd be the concert you'd have the weekend wristband too.
Yeah, how can I make it, man? Can anybody point me in the direction, man? Point me in the direction. So my last one is gonna be with everything we've gone through with COVID and whatnot, and the restrictions and the way the world has changed, high gas prices, just all the above. How do you see social progression going in the next 2 years?
As far as losing, I don't know.
Just interaction, just the way that we interact as people. Do you see?
I think a lot, even now, it's like, I think a lot of it, we're losing a lot of face-to-face interaction. Mm-hmm. So I see like a lot of stuff is done, like even with me and you talking right now, it's done, you know, technology wise, there's no real, you know, camaraderie, you know, and I don't know, I don't see that going away anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? Like even with like the perfect example would be like my nephew, like his friends are like he has friends around like the country. Like my friend lived across the street, you know, when I was his age. Like his friends, like, oh, I play with this kid in New York and then another kid in Ohio, and we talk all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like you need actual, like, you need physical friends, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's a lot that we're losing, and I don't see it actually changing much, you know, socially. And even with socially, like a lot of times, like we're getting more and more restricted on stuff we can say. Like if like, you know, if everyone doesn't agree on one same thing, you're against a whole other group or a whole other person. And it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot of hopefully it changes, but like the way it's going and it keeps going, like it's so touch and go with what you can and can't do, who you talk to, who you don't talk to, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, you know? I've recently been introduced to this cat who's been canceled. And are you familiar with the Tate brothers?
Yeah.
Man. I've just recently been introduced to them cats, like maybe a good month, and they blow my, because the whole thing is he arrogant? Well, Cobra, is he arrogant? Absolutely. Does he say some things that are kind of wild? Absolutely. But it makes sense. A lot of it, that what he says makes sense. I won't say everything he says makes sense or whatever.
And that goes back to what we talked about earlier with listening to talk radio. A lot of times you're listening to this person talking, like, I don't necessarily on the same platform as him, but a lot of the stuff that he's saying makes sense.
And dude, like Cobra, he got banned from everything you can get banned from. He said he even got banned from Uber. He said he had to do it.
I don't know if you heard of a guy named Ben Shapiro. He look him up. He goes out there and he speaks his mind on a lot of things, and sometimes a lot of things I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't really agree with what he's saying there, but then sometimes he says some stuff and I'm like,
that one liner. You know who else?
Sometimes you'll agree with something, and then at the same time you don't want to admit that you agree with the one thing he said, because then people are going to automatically associate you with, now you're agreeing with his whole thought process.
The 20 other wild things. Yeah, exactly. Joey D is too. I've been checking out Joey D. He's
Uncle Joey.
Yeah, not talented. Well, nah, man, I want to thank you for you know what I'm saying, tapping in with me on it one time. It's been a great conversation. You want to give your socials out?
Yeah. My IG's at Don Hefty. That's DON Hefty. My TikTok is Eldon Hefty, ELDONHEFTY. I don't do any TikTok dances, mostly just repost from Instagram. But if you're not, especially in entertainment, if you're not on social platforms, you're not trying hard enough. You know what I mean? And then Facebook's just Don Hefty. If you want to hit up empanada orders, you check them out. That's at IG. It's at Pretty Funny Catering.
All right.
And yeah, that pretty much it.
Yeah, no, man, we're gonna have to work it out where I get some, Splendid Radio gets a little sponsorship, man.
Yeah, let me know. If you guys are into the paranormal stuff, I do a podcast called Paragordo Activities with partner Momo Rodriguez. It's two chubby guys talking about paranormal stuff.
Oh man, see, that's a whole nother conversation. So I'll say before April, we're gonna bring you back and we're gonna have that conversation.
Oh, I would love to. I would love it. I could go on that. I just bought tickets today to UFO Con.
Yeah, I would take it you're not a novice if you're purchasing tickets to UFO Con.
I mean, I dip into it. A little paranormal stuff. Actually, I got into it more since we started doing the podcast 3 years ago.
Okay.
I bought books and I started reading up more. Actually, trying to get knowledge on what I was talking about instead of just being, because it started off just me being the person trying to find scientific reason for some stuff happening and being like a naysayer, to me trying to understand, okay, why is it that this folklore has gone this far? People now I'm trying to understand the story behind it. So it's makes for more interesting conversation,
Nah, dope. Well, nah, man, I want to give a shout out to Thomas M. Not sure if it's a Gargamel, man, but I kind of think it might be Gargamel, but Thomas M., your homeboy Raider Chuck, and he did say the red hot sauce. If I'm messing with you on the empanada,
oh yeah,
I need to tap in on that red hot sauce.
That's the make your bone sweat sauce, is what I call it.
Ooh-wee. And then Primo Danny, he tapped in, and then once again, man, always faithful, Ben Frank. So with that being said, this is another episode of Splendid Radio on Pharcyde TV, and I'll catch up with you, man. Peace.